Hey everyone, welcome back. Today, we're diving into the aftermath of the Caucus kickout and what Tiffany Henyard plans to do next. True to her usual style, Tiffany is doing things her own way. She's filed a lawsuit, but there's a bit of a catch. Before we dive into the details, if you're a returning supporter, don't forget to hit that like button. And if you're new here and enjoying what you're hearing, go ahead and like the video too. Now, back to Tiffany's lawsuit. I first heard about this from the Hannibal is Hungry channel, where you can find a full breakdown of the lawsuit. Tiffany Henyard has named Fitzgerald Roberts, the mayor of Dixmoor, as one of the plaintiffs. Dixmoor is only about 10 minutes away from Dalton, where Tiffany is the mayor. Tiffany is suing Napoleon Harris and the Democratic Party, claiming they've engaged in unfair practices. But here's where it gets interesting. Fitzgerald Roberts wasn't actually on board with this lawsuit. According to an article from Fox, 32 Chicago, Dixmoor Village, President Fitzgerald Roberts says that his name being added to Tiffany's lawsuit against State Senator Napoleon Harris was due to a misunderstanding. Imagine that. But let's keep it moving. First and foremost, my understanding of the conversation I had with Supervisor Henyard was vastly different than her understanding, Roberts said. I want to make it clear that I was not aware of any lawsuits filed on my behalf. I have not authorized or initiated any legal action, nor was I consulted about any such filings. I appreciate the work Supervisor Henyard and Senator Harris have done for Dixmoor. My focus is on the village of Dixmoor and helping the residents here. I have no desire to be a part of this lawsuit. The article goes on to say that Roberts is exploring all legal options to get himself removed from the lawsuit. It seems like Tiffany Henyard either took something he might have casually mentioned in conversation, ran with it, and added his name to the lawsuit, or, just hypothetically, it's possible that they had a conversation where Roberts agreed something wasn't right, and she took that as permission to include him. Honestly, I find it hard to believe the mayor of Dixmoor would willingly get himself involved in such a random lawsuit on Tiffany Henyard's behalf. It just doesn't seem likely. I think Tiffany lives in her own world, and we've seen that over and over again in the way she acts and constantly contradicts herself. She probably twisted the situation to make it seem like Roberts was on her side, like Team Tiffany. There's also been some speculation that Tiffany is getting kicked out of the Democratic Party because of her open support for Donald Trump. One of my commenters actually mentioned this possibility, suggesting that Tiffany Henyard might be getting booted from the Democratic Party. I won't try to pronounce their name because I don't want to butcher it, but this is what they said. I swear I will start summarizing my points, I promise. She tends to leave long comments, which I don't mind at all. It shows me that she really put thought into what she said and enjoyed the video. So, here's what they shared. This was Tiffany's plan from the start, and she's talking about the caucus and how it went down. There are videos from other content creators showing her inside the hall before everything began. She knew very well she wouldn't qualify because she didn't have a full slate.
Have y'all ever emailed Tiffany? Because, she has never, since she's been the mayor, responded herself to an email. Ever. She didn't even have access because she says she don't like responding to emails.
This comes across as pure laziness to me. It seems like Tiffany thought she could bypass all the necessary paperwork and still make it as a supervisor nominee or SLC candidate. Her strategy, along with her small group of supporters, about 8 of them, seemed to revolve around bringing in elderly people and using them to create a voter suppression narrative. They tried to frame the whole situation to make it look like people inside intentionally left the elderly out in the cold. This is something Tiffany kept pushing in her media interviews, repeatedly claiming that they left elderly people outside, in freezing temperatures. She even brought 1 or 2 elderly individuals into her interviews, telling the same story over and over about how they were left outside in wheelchairs.
To see such inhumane done to our seniors who stayed outside in the cold for hours.
There were so many people lined up outside, and it was so cold. That's the only thing that I really took note of, because they wanted to vote. They took their time to come out. We had people out there that were on oxygen masks, pushing those chairs with the wheels.
I think Tiffany meant to say wheelchairs, but at the same time, she conveniently forgets all the Dalton residents and senior citizens she repeatedly left standing outside the village hall, waiting for meetings to start. It didn't matter how hot it was, or if people were on crutches or had other difficulties. Everyone had to wait for Queen Tiffany to show up. Late, as usual. But let's keep going. She then claims Tiffany purposely arranged for the elderly to arrive late, giving herself time to stage photos and videos outside with them. In my opinion, that's elder abuse. Having those senior citizens stand outside just so she could get a photo op with them? It's exploitation, plain and simple. She made them stand in the cold just to boost her chances of getting on the ballot. If that were my grandma or mom, I'd never allow them to be exploited like that. It's yet another example of Tiffany's total lack of empathy and respect for people, using them for her personal and political gain in exchange for trivial rewards, like bingo prizes for the elders. Now, if you're not aware, there's a huge controversy surrounding Tiffany Henyard's extravagant prizes at her bingo events for senior citizens. The issue isn't just that she's giving out prizes, it's that she's not handing out something small, like a toaster or a blender. Instead, she's giving away washers, dryers, refrigerators, freezers, air fryers, cars, and TVs. The list goes on. Now, back to the comment. It says Tiffany won't sue because, first of all, she can't afford any more lawyers, and second, she knows she would lose by a landslide. She's already stolen millions of dollars from taxpayers. This comment was made before Tiffany announced her lawsuit, so the person didn't know that at the time, which is why it's in there. The comment continues, saying instead, she relies on fake press releases to sway public opinion, avoiding legitimate legal proceedings. This is blatant grandstanding at its finest. Oh yes, the grandstanding. Because we all know by now, Tiffany Henyard is the queen of grandstanding, despite accusing everyone else of doing it. The commenter points out that Tiffany knew she didn't qualify, yet she continues to push her narrative because she's been enabled for years to operate unchecked, thanks to both Governor Pritzker and Kwame Raoul, who excel at issuing public statements but have consistently failed to support their voters in any meaningful way. I believe Senator Napoleon Harris was sent under Governor Pritzker's orders to remove Tiffany Henyard. Why? Because she's proven herself disloyal to the Democratic Party. In politics, much like in gangs, you don't switch sides repeatedly. She publicly congratulated Donald Trump, the party's chief adversary, starting with a Facebook post and continuing to show her alignment with Trump ever since.
Hey guys, it's your Super Mayor Tiffany Henyard, the People's Supervisor / Mayor. Today is election day. I hope you guys are super duper excited because today we get to find out who will be our president. So I pray that it will be, you know me, I'm all with the women's movement, Miss Harris.
Miss Harris.
So yeah, that's Tiffany Henyard for you. 1 minute, she's aligning herself with Kamala Harris, and the next, she's supporting Donald Trump. You can't go on social media claiming allegiance to one party 1 week and then flip to the opposition the next. That's a surefire way to show people how disloyal you are and how easily you'll switch sides, making it harder for anyone to trust you. One of my commenters summed it up perfectly. Politics is a ruthless game, and when you repeatedly disrespect the people who helped you rise to power, you're quickly cast out. If Tiffany had shown more loyalty to the party, they likely wouldn't have taken such drastic measures against her. She might have stayed on the ballot if she'd just kept quiet and avoided praising the leader of the opposition. But thank the good Lord for her big, illiterate mouth. The commenter also pointed out that Tiffany Henyard has no real political savvy. Let's be clear, the party isn't doing this out of concern for the residents. They felt betrayed by one of their own, so now they're kicking her out. That's the bottom line. Nothing more, nothing less. This was really well said, and the commenter made some great points. What do you all think about this? Do you agree with what was said here? Personally, I think they're trying to teach Tiffany a lesson because she's acted like she's untouchable for too long. We'll have to see if this actually sticks, though, if they're really able to kick her out of Thornton Township and get her out of Dalton. From what I've heard, that's what most of the residents want. People always talk about how non-transparent she is, especially when it comes to financials. Speaking of transparency, more information has surfaced. The Lansing Journal reported that an audit firm refused to endorse Thornton Township's financial report. The firm, John Casparo, wouldn't certify the township's financial report from last fiscal year as accurate. They didn't want to stamp those financials because Robert Hunt, Tiffany Henyard, and their team put together a budget that showed Thornton Township in the red for years. And now, suddenly, it's all in the green. Under Tiffany's supervision, some are alleging that these numbers don't add up, and that the books might have been cooked by none other than Robert Hunt, the director of finance. He's part of what some are calling the dynamic duo with Tiffany. They go way back, plotting and scheming for their own benefit dating back to when they were trustees in Dalton.
I'd like to ask the trustees if any of you are personal friends with the owner of W&W. Because Michael Smith is, and I can prove it. Tiffany, you are. And have you ever been to my business?
Yeah, I have.
Have you?
Yeah.
Thank you. For what reason? Don't say it.
So you got
Thank you, Mayor. You're doing a good job. I say Wes's and Airline do the towing.
You say what?
Wes's and Airline should be doing the towing because you're personal friends with the owner of W&W, and so is Michael Smith.
Just because Michael is don't mean I am.
Just because Michael is, thank you. Have a good night. Thank you, trustees and residents. Just because Michael is. Who is Michael to you?
So, what they got to do with it?
Thank you, okay. Just because Michael is. Okay. Can we have order, please? Order.
I just wanted to actually formally introduce myself. My name is Early Walker. I am the owner of W&W Towing.
Just doesn't even make any type of sense to me to go to another company. So that's why I picked W&W Towing.
Elected official from Village of Dixmoor. I want to speak on behalf of WW Towing. They tow Fry Village and have done a fantastic job. You guys have hired our ex-police chief, Mobley, who experienced the towing services of WW. You're talking about giving back to the community. You're talking about events. WW Towing does that.
You feel strong about Airline. I'd like to see another one. I'm looking at WW Towing. Upcoming strong business, plus they're out here in the South Suburb with us. I'd like to see them get opportunity at that.
On the motion to approve the proposal by WW Towing, motion by Trustee Hunt, second by Trustee Brown. Trustee Brown?
Aye.
Trustee Pearson?
No.
Trustee Stubbs?
Aye.
Trustee Muhammad?
No.
Trustee Hunt?
Aye.
Trustee Henyard?
Aye.
4.
4 ayes, motion carried.
That company, WW, has everything that was required of them.
we can see, Robert Hunt and Tiffany Henyard have been ride or die from day one, so I wouldn't be surprised if Robert Hunt did something a little questionable for Tiffany H. Just my opinion, but yeah. Let's get back to the article from the Lansing Journal. In a letter included in the Comprehensive Annual Financial Report for the fiscal year ending February 29, 2024, the accounting firm stated that they didn't have enough documentation to confirm the numbers provided by the township. They went on to say, "We do not express an opinion on the accompanying financial statements of governmental activities, each major fund, and the aggregate remaining fund information of the township." The letter also states, "We have not been able to obtain significant appropriate audit evidence to provide a basis for an audit opinion on the financial statements." Basically, the auditing firm is saying they don't have enough documentation to confidently sign off on the Thornton Township financials. This is a big deal because it suggests that important information is missing, something that seems to be a recurring theme with Tiffany Henyard over in Dolton. The trustees are constantly complaining that they aren't getting enough information, whether it's financial reports or credit card statements. Now, the auditing firm is also refusing to put their name on the line and endorse what Tiffany, Robert, and their crew have done. That's my take on it. What do you guys think about this situation? What are your thoughts on the accounting firm being unwilling to certify the township's financials as accurate? It feels like just another issue to add to the long list of controversies surrounding Tiffany Henyard. Every day, there seems to be something new, and it's all because she just can't stay still. Right now, she seems desperate to hold on to her position as Thornton Township Supervisor, and it's not because she cares about the people, at least in my opinion. It's because she still wants that $200,000 yearly salary. If she loses her position, her boyfriend will likely lose his $100,000 plus a year job as well. What does he do exactly? According to him, he's involved in youth violence prevention. But there's been no data or statistics to support any impact he's had. Nothing has been presented to justify such a high salary. In fact, here's a resident asking about what Tiffany Henyard's boyfriend actually does for the community. Come on. I would like to know your position. I would like to know. I would like an update, a report, a statistic, a measurable outcome on some of these youth programs that you have. You don't do anything but cause disruption, intimidation, confusion, and I just don't understand what it is you're getting paid to do. Tiffany Henyard's boyfriend, Kamal Woods, is usually quiet, always hanging out in the background. Another YouTuber, Cooking with Frank, even calls him Cigarette Break because he's constantly stepping out for smoke breaks. That's pretty much what people know him as, Cigarette Break or Leotus. But the fact is, he never really speaks. So it was surprising when he decided to speak up during one of Tiffany Henyard's rallies, which only had about 25 people in attendance. Instead of addressing his job in Thornton Township, where he's supposedly involved in youth violence prevention, he chose to lash out at a female reporter, Regina Waldrop, with quite a bit of aggression. His outburst wasn't professional or warranted, and I personally didn't appreciate his threatening behavior towards her. Even though reporters like Regina are probably used to getting some heat, it still doesn't make his actions acceptable. Let me go ahead and play this clip of him acting like a hot mess. She goes out to work, right? She goes out to work, and you're going to keep chasing her. You're going to keep following the story, right? That's your job. Her job is to take care of the community. It started right here in this room in 2021. The dream began to revitalize. Do you want to know the real story? Like she says, if you want the truth, get it from me. Get it from her. Go to her. If you're worth talking to, I see you. You're looking dead at me, I see you. You're part of the problem. Yes, if you're going to tell the truth, tell the truth. It ain't no guys or ladies. You're part of the problem. I'm talking to you. So, Tiffany Henyard went ahead and shared the situation on her Instagram, wanting to show what had happened. Personally, I found it very distasteful and cowardly. All this time, while Tiffany has been running her mouth, Kamal Woods has just been quietly hanging out in the background. It's funny that the one time he chooses to speak up is against a female reporter. Cooking with Frank made a great point. As many times as Dan Plow has confronted Tiffany Henyard in the village of Dolton, Kamal has never spoken up against him. But suddenly, he feels the need to confront Regina Waldrop, a female reporter. It says a lot about someone's character when you see who they choose to challenge and who they avoid. Well, that's it for today. Let me know how you feel about all these recent and not-so-recent developments. I try to stay as up-to-date as possible while also mixing in some older details about Tiffany Henyard's scandals for those who may not know the full history. I like giving people the full picture so they understand why so many, including myself, call Tiffany a hypocrite. If you've been on my channel long enough, you've probably seen the old footage from the Dolton board meetings too. If you enjoyed the video, please remember to give it a like. And if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe.